Antarctica. It's a continent of just pure extremes. A massive, white desert that holds some of our planet's deepest, darkest secrets. So, come on, let's dive into this frozen world and see what mysteries are locked away under all that ice.
First off, you've got to wrap your head around the sheer scale of the ice here. We're talking 5 kilometers thick in some places. I mean, just picture that. That's enough ice to completely bury an entire continent, a landmass bigger than the United States.
And the cold? Wow, it's almost impossible to imagine. The coldest temperature ever recorded on Earth was right here, a truly mind-numbing minus 90 degrees Celsius. It's an environment so incredibly hostile, you think nothing could possibly survive.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question, right? In a place this extreme, this cut off from the rest of the world, what kind of secrets could possibly be buried under all that ice? Well, let me tell you, the answers are way stranger than you might think.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the Great White Continent and the secrets lurking just below the surface. You see, even though it looks totally barren, Antarctica is buzzing with activity. We now know of over 400 hidden lakes down there, huge bodies of liquid water that have been trapped for millennia, each one like a little time capsule.
So for our first big discovery, let's peel back that first layer of ice and go back in time, way back. Because millions of years ago, this frozen wasteland, it was a lush, green, and very, very alive prehistoric world.
Scientists have uncovered an absolute treasure trove of fossils. I'm talking actual dinosaurs, giant marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, and get this, even the remains of a totally bizarre egg-laying mammal. This place was not always a polar desert, not by a long shot.
And this timeline really puts it all into perspective. Imagine this, 25 million years ago, a creature that looked kind of like a cat but laid eggs was just walking around here. And even more recently, about 7 million years ago, a 36-foot-long plesiosaur was swimming in the coastal waters. It just shows you how dramatically this continent has changed.
All right, so we found prehistoric animals. But what about people? For the longest time, everyone just assumed that humans never set foot on Antarctica until modern explorers showed up. But you guessed it, the ice was holding another secret, some really puzzling human traces that totally challenged that idea.
So in 2014, archaeologists made this incredible find, the very first human remains ever discovered on the continent. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just that they found them, it was the kind of skulls they found that left researchers completely baffled. Yeah, these were not your typical human skulls. As you can see, they were strangely elongated. Now, this is a practice called artificial cranial deformation, and it's been seen in ancient cultures in places like Egypt and Peru. This discovery has kicked off some wild theories about ancient voyages across the globe. It's still a huge mystery and a hot topic of debate for scientists.
Okay, from ancient human visitors, we're now going to turn our gaze upwards, way up. Because it turns out Antarctica isn't just collecting ancient history from Earth, its huge, clean ice sheet is the perfect trap for visitors from much, much farther away.
Over the last 50 years or so, scientists have found more than 10,000 meteorites just sitting there on the ice. It makes sense, right? Dark rocks stand out perfectly against the bright white snow, which makes Antarctica basically the best place on the planet to go hunting for space rocks. And some of these rocks have an absolutely incredible story. I mean, take this one. Scientists confirmed it was blasted off the surface of Mars, traveled through the emptiness of space for millions of years, and then finally crash-landed right here in Antarctica, where it was perfectly preserved until we came along and found it. But here's where the story gets really mind-blowing. When they analyzed this rock, some researchers claim they found tiny structures inside that looked just like fossilized bacteria. Now, I have to say, this claim is super controversial and definitely not proven. But it started a massive global debate about whether there was once life on Mars. And this little rock from Antarctica is a key piece of evidence.
All right, so from outer space, let's now travel deep, deep beneath the surface of the ice. Because hidden down there are ecosystems so bizarre, so alien, they make us question everything we thought we knew about where life can exist.
This right here is Taylor Glacier, and it's home to one of the weirdest and most unsettling sights in all of Antarctica. It's a waterfall, 5 stories high, that looks like it's pouring blood out onto the ice. They call it, you guessed it, blood falls.
So, for about 100 years after it was discovered, people had no idea what it was.
Was it some weird red algae or something else? The truth, which science eventually figured out, turned out to be even more amazing.
Nope, it's not blood. That waterfall is coming from a subglacial lake that's been trapped for millions of years. The water in there is incredibly salty and packed with iron. So when it finally seeps out and hits the air for the very first time, that iron oxidizes, it rusts, and that's what instantly turns the water that deep blood red color.
But the red water wasn't even the biggest discovery. In that ancient, trapped lake water, scientists found the life. 17 different types of bacteria that are surviving with absolutely no oxygen and no sunlight. These things are the ultimate survivors, and they're basically a blueprint for how life could potentially exist on other frozen worlds in our solar system.
Wow, so we've seen a lost world, we've seen puzzling human skulls, we've seen alien ecosystems, but for this last part, we're going to the most extreme parts of Antarctica to uncover its deepest and most unexplained mysteries.
Here's a fun paradox for you. The iciest continent on Earth is also home to the absolute driest place on Earth. These are the McMurdo Dry Valleys. They haven't seen a drop of rain in an estimated 2 million years. Hurricane-force winds just blast any moisture away, creating an environment so alien that NASA actually used it to test its Mars landers.
But our last discovery, this one takes us deep, deep down again. A research team was drilling through the ice sheet, and when they got to a depth of 1,100 feet, they reportedly found something that nobody has been able to explain since.
And this is where we find one of Antarctica's most chilling legends. Reports from this unverified expedition claimed they found a bizarre skeleton. It was nearly 8 feet long, and its bone structure didn't match any known animal on Earth. Now, this has never been scientifically confirmed, but the story sticks around as a terrifying what-if, a true puzzle from the deep.
So from prehistoric monsters to possible signs of alien life and these deep unsolved mysteries, the ice has already given up so many of its secrets. It really makes you wonder, after finding all this incredible stuff, what else is still down there, just waiting in the ice?